Yeah. It's so cool to be from Africa. It's so cool to be from Africa.
The FDA is expected to approve emergency use of Pfizer's COVID vaccine here in the U.S. tomorrow. Dr. Anthony Fauci spoke about the importance of getting people on board for the vaccine in an interview for the Bloomberg Health Summit. Take a listen.
Well, we've got to be doing a lot of community engagement and community outreach to get people to understand the two things that bother people. They say, well, maybe we did this too quickly. They need to understand the speed is really a reflection of the extraordinary scientific advances that have been made that allowed us to do things in weeks to months that normally would have taken several years. That was not compromising safety, nor was it compromising scientific integrity. The process that went into deciding the safety and efficacy was both independent and transparent. We need to make sure people understand that.
Fauci's push for public trust in the vaccine comes as the UK is already facing a vaccine bump just one day after starting the shots. Two health officials who got the COVID vaccine reported adverse effects last night. And Quick Takes Madison Mills is here for more on this. Madison, first tell us what happened with the two patients who are not reacting well to the shots.
Renita, like you just mentioned, two members of the NHS who received the vaccine yesterday have already had some issues. They both had severe allergic reactions in their histories, so it makes sense that they had some allergic reactions to the vaccine. But today, UK health authorities are saying if you have any history of allergies, you should not take this vaccine. And one of the reasons they're being so firm on this is what Dr. Fauci just spoke about. It's that public trust in the vaccine that's going to be so critical in getting people on board to take these shots as they're distributed more broadly. So that's why we're seeing such strong language from the UK today.
Uganda approved a request by Chinese residents to import 4,000 doses of a COVID-19 vaccine from their home for their own use. The vaccine was developed in China and it's been administered to hundreds of thousands of people under emergency authorization, but it has yet to receive public use of approval from any drug regulators.
A glimmer of hope after a year-long battle against COVID-19. Onlookers in England cheered as 90-year-old Margaret Keenan became the first person to receive the Pfizer vaccine. Tens of thousands more Britons will follow suit in coming weeks.
Go for it because it's free and it's the best thing that's ever happened.
While lauding the scientific breakthroughs, organisations including Amnesty and Oxfam warn that millions around the world are a long way from sharing in the relief. It's early days, and even as more vaccines look promising, there's not enough to go around by a long shot.
At least 100 million COVID vaccine shots into the arms of the American people in the first 100 days.
The People's Vaccine Alliance says nearly 70 lower-income countries will only be able to vaccinate 1 in every 10 people in 2021. It says rich countries, meanwhile, will have enough doses to vaccinate everyone nearly 3 times over. Canada tops the chart with enough to vaccinate every person 5 times. Oxfam says all the vaccines made so far by frontrunners Pfizer and Moderna have already been secured by high-income countries. AstraZeneca, by contrast, has pledged to provide 64% of its much cheaper-to-make shots to developing nations. But the charity says that even scaled-up supply of an approved jab would only reach about 18% of the global population next year. Aiming to bridge the gap and act as an antidote to vaccine nationalism is an unprecedented initiative led by Gavi, the Global Vaccines Alliance.
So haben wir den ACT-Accelerator und seine COVAX-Fazilität angestoßen. Ziel ist, bis Ende 2021 2 Milliarden Impfdosen zu verteilen. Deutschland beteiligt sich mit über einer halben Milliarde Euro. Um die Pandemie einzudämmen, muss der Zugang zur Impfung für jedes Land möglich und bezahlbar sein. Dazu reichen die bisher zugesagten Mittel noch nicht aus.
How does it work? COVAX is ultimately an appeal to nations to pool resources to develop vaccines at scale, then distribute them fairly according to need. It asks wealthier countries to pay upfront for large-scale manufacturing so that approved vaccines are produced in the largest possible quantities at the fastest possible pace. Importantly, Gavi says, rich countries will only pay for the vaccines they receive, while doses for the poorest countries will largely be paid for using official development aid. But rich countries don't really need COVAX, so what's in it for them? Ethical and political considerations aside, the main idea is that only by eliminating the virus everywhere can the pandemic be effectively eliminated and the world economy recover.
The light at the end of the tunnel is growing steadily brighter.
So far, COVAX hasn't been without success. It's raised billions of dollars and secured deals for 700 million doses for some low and middle income countries.
I think the next 6 months are going to be difficult.
And for poorer countries unable to afford bilateral contracts with big drug companies, COVAX may be their only shot, at least in the short term.
All countries, I think, committed to equitable access. And the leaders of most of the high-income countries have been very committed to this. So I'm quite hopeful that this will happen. Our goal is to get 2 million doses into the COVAX facility by the end of 2021. That will just be enough to cover, the percentage of population in every country who are the most high risk, the most vulnerable, the most likely to get infected and die. But beyond that, in order to continue vaccination beyond 2022, we're going to need a lot more resources.
The People's Vaccine Alliance says COVAX is not enough, and it's waging a battle against vaccine hoarding as well as patents and big profits. It's called on drug manufacturers to share technology and waive intellectual property rights for COVID vaccines until everybody is protected. Their argument is that vaccines should be treated as a public good and not a profit maker, especially because some vaccine makers received billions of dollars in public funding for research. The Alliance's Dr. Mogayani said, quote, "The current system, where pharmaceutical corporations retain exclusive rights and keep their technology secret to boost profits, could cost many lives."
komano mudziona kandi amabungu anthu ena amene angathe kuthandizapo tikatemera akwane dziko lino ngofunika apezeke kuti mwina athandizirepo nthenda isanafike pofala pena paliponse.
Assalamu alaikum, family. It's time to use our analytical mind, pull out them thinking caps. Now, I'm not going to make any accusations because I just don't know. But my analytical mind is telling me this is all about the haves and the have-nots. The haves will probably have the best vaccine, the best medical care, and this vaccine will probably help them with only a few maybe fatalities and casualties. That happens with, medicine. But for the have-nots, I'm seeing something different. I'm seeing a money maker. I'm seeing experimentation. Think about it.
And I will read the votes aloud for the record. Dr. Moore voted yes. Dr. Cohn voted yes. Dr. Gans voted yes. Dr. Perlman voted yes. Dr. Kurilla voted no. Dr. Rubin voted yes. Dr. Levy voted yes. Dr. Pergam voted yes. Dr. Chatterjee voted no. Dr. Fuller voted no. Dr. Miser abstained. Dr. Sawyer voted yes. Dr. Hildreth voted yes. Dr. Kim voted no. Dr. Monto voted yes. Dr. Tripp voted yes. Dr. Wharton voted yes. Dr. Benacoloke voted yes. Dr. Offit voted yes. Dr. McInnes voted yes. Dr. Lee voted yes. Mr. Taubman voted yes. And that concludes the vote. So we do have a favorable vote, and that concludes this portion of the meeting.